what is the role of thalamus? Thalamus is not just a relay center. Okay, if the ascending information has traveled up to this, it doesn't need to relay just to go to the. So what is the role? It is mainly to screen, because for one peripheral information it receives 40 information from the higher center. So what does it tell you? It is receiving more higher center information than what it is receiving from the periphery. That means higher center is always able to modulate what information you receive because of thalamus. So thalamus is not only just a relay center, but it's a modulating center as well. So that's why your mind only see what your eyes only see what your mind know, because what the cortex know, that only tell you what your eyes will see. Thalamus is a part of the diencephalon. We know that. Okay. So that's the thalamus part. What are the parts of the diencephalon? Thalamus, hypothalamus, obviously pituitary. Then you have got the pineal gland, and you have got the habenullar nucleus. So these are the parts of the diencephalon, and thalamus is one of the important parts. On the medial aspect, you will see thalamus. This is the limbic cortex, intimately related with the limbic system as well, and we will come to the functions. This is another view of the thalamus. This is a very good picture. You can see this is the thalamus, this is the hypothalamus, this is the pineal gland, and this is the cerebral aqueduct. This is very important. Internal structure of thalamus. Imagine thalamus is like an egg-shaped structure. Okay, so if it is the egg, it will have a front end, it will have a dorsal surface, it will have a ventral surface, it will have a medial surface, it will have a lateral surface. So it's just imagine it's like an egg. So this is the anterior part, this is the posterior part, this is the medial part, this is the lateral part. But the medial and lateral has got a dorsal surface and ventral surface. So you have to be aware about that. So this thalamus is divided into all this by this intermedullary lamina, okay, which is dividing into three main parts: anterior, medial, and this dorsal and ventral. And also there is a posterior part. Okay, so that's the basic architecture of the thalamus. Now, I think this is a very good image from this book. It's called Droid to Know It, Neuroanatomy, Adam Fish. Okay, so this picture is from this book. See, anterior group, medial group, dorsolateral, lateral posterior, and then ventroanterior, ventrolateral, ventroposterior, medial lateral. And the posterior part has got what is called pulvinar, and then medial geniculate nucleus and lateral geniculate nucleus. So if you can understand this picture, then that's so. If we look at the thalamus is like egg-shaped structure. Okay, so it's egg-shaped. So it has got anterior part. This is medial, anterior. Actually, lateral is slightly like this, pulvinar, and this is the lateral part. Now, lateral part is divided into dorsal and ventral. The ventral has got ventro-anterior and ventrolateral, and then ventro-posterior has got one lateral and medial. So ventroposterior has got ventroposterolateral, ventroposteromedial. And this part is pulvinar, which is, and then medial genicular nucleus, lateral genicular nucleus. So that's the key important nucleus in the thalamus. Now the anterior group is with the limbic system Papez circuit. So learning new memories. Okay, so that's the part of the Papez circuit. It's part of the limbic system, but specifically learning new information, storing the recent memory to long-term memory. So that's the primary function of the anterior group. Medial group is again part of the limbic system, but it is with the emotional aspect. Okay, so the emotional aspect of the limbic system, this is processed through the medial group. Is that clear? Okay. Now we are left with the dorsal. Now remember, the it says sometimes it's called lateral dorsal or dorsolateral. That is exactly quite similar to the medial group. So you don't have to remember anything differently. And the lateral posterior is exactly similar to pulvinar. So again, as long as you know pulvinar, it's exactly the same function. Now ventroanterior and ventrolateral is part of the motor modulating loop. So information from basal ganglion and cerebellum will come here. Whereas ventroposterolateral and medial is the sensory part. Okay, all the information from the periphery, trunk, upper limb, lower limb is coming to ventroposterolateral, and ventroposteromedial is information from the face and the taste sensation. Okay, the pulvinar, where it coordinates information from motor, sensory and other part of the cortex, and it is involved in visual attention as well. Okay, so it coordinate information from auditory information, visual information, auditory information, and all the information from various part of the cortex, frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe. So all this information is coordinated here, and it has got important role in visual attention. So that's what you need to know about thalamus as a whole, the function. Okay, so that's the most important thing. Thalamus is mainly supplied by posterior circulation from the branches of posterior cerebral artery, except a small portion from the anterior circulation. I just mentioned. See, there is only branch, what is the polar branch which is coming. So all these branches, most of the branches are coming from the posterior cerebral artery, okay, except part of the lateral anterior part, the polar artery, that is supplied by the posterior communicating artery. Okay, so only very small portion is supplied by anterior, is predominantly posterior. Now one other thing you should know, what is artery of partial? It comes in exam. So sometime one posterior cerebral artery supply both thalamus, both right and left. So if that artery is blocked, what will happen? What type of damage will happen? On both thalamus. So one artery blockage, artery of partial, which will cause bilateral thalamic damage. And the patient can present with drowsiness, okay. So that's all you need to know about